welcome to the Swell Podcast. We have a very special guest at the McGraw offices today. We're here with Mark Sawyer-Chu, and he is the CEO and founder of Action Sports Lifestyle Group. So, Mark, thank you for joining us today.
All right, Chip, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
man.
And then we got Chip here, CEO and founder of McGraw. So, yeah, we got a very fun episode today. We're in the new Swell offices, which is really exciting. So, got a new podcast set up. But Mark, with this being your first time on the podcast, could you just, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I'm 46 now. I just moved to Florida, so don't hold that against me. But I started out, I went to school at UC Santa Barbara, graduated 98. So Jack Johnson was actually just 2 years ahead of me. And Joe Chappelle was like way younger, so he was way behind me. But it was a great school I wasn't even surfing back then. I was like a skateboarder, snowboarder, but kind of grew up in the action sports, world, and then moved to LA. And I guess my start in like digital media, I ended up at Saatchi & in LA, which was the ad agency for Toyota. So that was kind of my foot in the door. And then it kind of went to a bunch of other ad agencies after that. Ruben Poster in Santa Monica, which is the ad agency for Honda. DDB, Tribal DDB in Venice, which is the Frank Gehry building, the big Binocular building, it's a Google building now. So ended up working on like a bunch of different accounts, but I would buy Surfer Magazine, buy print pages and digital ads when I was at these ad agencies. And so that was kind of my first exposure to surfing, but I was kind of getting into that non-endemic agency realm of marketing and digital advertising. So, and then eventually went sales side, worked at Ask Jeeves after that agency, which is a OG search engine. Probably too young to remember that, but that was like Alta Vista, Dogpile days. It was like way before Google, right? There was like these four original search engines, but Ask Jeeves was huge back then. And then, so I did a little bit of SEO. I was an account manager for SEO and keywords, and then went like full publishing sales side. So worked for like Tennis Magazine, and eventually ended up at an agency that represented Surfer Magazine, snowboarder, skateboarder, climbing, canoe, kayak, and it was called ASG, the Action Sports Group, and it was based in San Juan Capistrano in California. And so, and I had started surfing by then. At one of the agencies, I had a boss that was from like Wisconsin, and I was this kid from North Dakota. I was already like 23. So, and Chip was looking at me in the water, why are you such a bad surfer? I'm like, I kind of learned how to surf late.
Whatever.
But growing up in, no, Chip didn't say that. But, anytime anyone asks me, I'm like, well, growing up in Grand Forks, North Dakota doesn't really help your surfing career.
I grew up in Indiana, so there was no surfing there.
That's right. Until wave parks started opening up here, which Chip and I are helping to purvey. But so learning late in my early and mid 20s in LA, which obviously doesn't have great waves. And so I like to call it like the fastest, it's like the perfect closeout, when you see there's breaks a mile long all at the same time. So learn to surf at Sunset Boulevard, which is actually a fun little break, good little beginner spot, and then Bay Street, which is where the WSL is based now. But went publishing side, worked for a bunch of different mags, and then worked in Australia at an ad network, and then moved back. But really the trajectory, was digital marketing, working kind of in the non-endemic space or the agency space, and being such a passionate surfer, how could I create a job that would, you say if you love your job, you never have to work a day in your life, right? And so how do I marry these two? And I was like, well, I saw my friends doing these rep firms, because they had all these relationships. And so eventually I had put enough time where I had all those relationships with all these big brands and kind of with all like the endemic surf world. And I said, let me marry those two, start my own agency, which is Action Sports Lifestyle Group, take on a bunch of guys as clients because I had that unique background from the ad agency space, working with all these big brands, and try to connect some dots and be a connection maker and broker, deals that had value across, different ideas like content creation, email marketing, social media, editorial, give guys. But really, it was really the creative ideation that really drew me to that.
Sounds like also kind of a little bridge between digital and print. and kind of putting those
Yeah.
two things together, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when I kind of got into all that, print was kind of starting to decline, but I had been at a lot of these properties where print was like the juggernaut for 50 years. And so it's hard for those kind of organizations that have been doing that for so long to transition to digital. But I was younger back then, and I was kind of at that forefront of that digital age that was, maybe you had like one banner ad size, but obviously now you got like 6,000. But, getting into that early and starting on the digital departments on the ad agency side really helped me with that forefront. And so, and it was really helping a lot of these print publications to become more digitally savvy. And as you know, one of my clients is the Inertia, and that was birthed out of all the original guys were guys I worked with at Surfer Magazine. And so we were by far the youngest guys there. But it was really cool to see like, hey, look, digital is going to be important one day. We need to focus on mobile. We need to focus on social and email.
And do you feel like Inertia was really at the forefront of all that? Were they kind of the pioneer of that?
Yeah, I think they did a great job of that. And then, the founder was really inspired. My friend Zach was really inspired by Ariana Huffington, from Huffington Post, and really creating a democratic like publishing platform where people could discuss topics and issues that were important to them. And so that's why you see so much diversity on the Inertia,
What year did that start?
So 2010.
2010.
So I left, I think, Surfer 08. Zach left just shortly after me. I think he was MBA school at USC, and it was kind of baking on this idea and starting it in his garage. And we had all kind of kept in touch because I had to sell across Surfer, which he was the online editor for, but I had to sell surfing and snowboarder, canoe, kayak climbing, all the, like at least 8 other titles. And so, and it was really cool that we just kind of stayed in touch, especially the digital team was so small back then, it was really tight. And I was like, well, this is perfect. You're going to need a good sales guy. So jumped on board and helped him grow it. And then he just sold it last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, print is kind of dying. At least that's what they say. I was a journalism major, so for me, when I was looking at jobs I wanted to pursue, I kind of wanted to go into more digital marketing, and I wanted to use my graphic design minor and go into social media. And so I'm curious with the Inertia, how did you guys kind of, I don't know, do you guys still have a print magazine, or is it just all online?
It was always digital from the start.
Always digital.
Yeah,
okay.
Because it was kind of that era right before the recession in 2012,
Right.
And all the print books back then were already starting to reduce their issues. Like Surfer went from 12 to 8, and eventually 6, and then I think after that it was cut. It's been repurchased now by a new group. That we hope will bring it back because there's so much equity in that name.
First in Surfer, they bought surfing, right?
Yeah, so surfing was EMAP when I was there, and then the owners back then was Prime Media, and they owned like 100 different automotive titles. That's what they were really known for. But then they acquired Surfer, and then Surfer acquired Surfing, and then we eventually ended up buying all the Transworld titles, which was Transworld Business, Motocross, Transworld Skate, and Transworld Surf. But as you guys know, those are all absorbed and eventually shelved.
Yeah, there's like nothing out there, and like ESM too, which is you're probably not as familiar as it, but that was like this little thick newspaper kind of magazine that we all had back.
It was
in the
kind of big, right?
It was pretty big, yeah, and some.
That's cool.
It was a great mag. It was all East Coast.
Did you ever get a cover shot?
No, I never got a cover shot. No.
We'll put you on the cover of American Surf Magazine.
Well,
the first issue.
I probably got to step up my game a little bit.
So you were in Session Magazine recently. So
well, I mean, I was I got to contribute as a writer. That's a new magazine that came out with some guys in there. You have a great vision. So print is alive in a small way, and I have my collection over here of. Surf Journal, Surfer's Journal, which is like
beautiful. You don't
the
throw
only
those away.
No, you save them forever. But you look at them over and over again, just a different kind of thing. It's more of a editorials and
that I would say out of all the traditional properties out there or the ones that have been around, if you're going to do print, that's the way to do it, right? That's the proper way to do it, where you've only got 8 to 10 primary advertisers. You've got a limited issue release. You got limited copies. It's a high-end print, product, and so it's something that people are going to keep more as a coffee table book versus
I
putting things
think
on the toilet.
Well, right. Well, I put them next to the toilet first,
and then you bring them into the office,
and then I add to the collection.
But you clean them in between.
Sure, we disinfect. Don't worry. But but I mean, they're great reading. I think print's coming back, and I mean, maybe not to the extent that it was previously, but there's only so much that you can get from digital, right? I mean, it's a great platform, great for being able to get ads, great for attribution to understand what's going on.
Analytics.
A lot of tracking analytics. It gives you a lot of insight to the success
all the stuff
or failure.
that you guys do extremely well.
That's the stuff we focus on, and what HubSpot really helps us to do that in a really good way. But there's something to be said for it to hold this stuff, and you remember the excitement that you used to get, like, oh, that thing's coming in the mail, and get my new surfer.
For my next issue. Because you didn't have Instagram.
Right, exactly. That was it. Then it was like
my next poster I'm going to put on my wall.
Right, and it had the poster inside, and so it was like, dude, that poster's going up. And then like seeing like all that stuff, and then it was that and VHS surf vids, right? So I mean, that's all we had is when we were young, and then it turned into DVDs, and all that's gone away, and everybody just now has their face stuck in Instagram and whatever other platforms are out there that are social media, which are all cool. My kids, they don't even really fully understand the magazine thing, and I get them to try to read Surfer's Journal and other stuff, and like, nah, whatever, we're not looking at that. But like, dude, it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And I did get them to start really getting interested because I have the Spin the Globe thing. I don't know if you know about that, but in the beginning, in the front part of every Surfer's Journal, there is a picture of like a spot. And it doesn't tell where it's at, but it's always like this really epic looking wave, and so you're supposed to try to guess and figure it out by the clues. And then on page 124 is where you can go back and find out if you're right or not. So it's a great
basically where you took me this morning.
Yeah. Do you by looking at the spot, how good is your like surf locale IQ? How well do you know? Because maybe I don't know if you ever did this back in the day and watch videos and mags, and you would get to really know spots, and then you've never even been there, but you see that wave. Yeah. You're like, oh, I know that spot. You get on a surf video, and you're like, oh, I wonder where they're at, and like try to figure it out. It's always never really fully disclosed.
When we were at Surfing Magazine, because again I had to work on all the different properties, but I sold all of them, and sometimes clients would just buy one, sometimes they buy all of them. But when Google Maps first launched, we have this contest.
Oh yeah.
And you go on Google Maps and you basically challenge readers or users to find a spot, like a secret spot that's been.
That's pretty cool.
I remember like the one year, I can't remember what year they picked, but it was somewhere probably in like South Africa.
Yeah, did you know how they found Skeleton Bay?
Very likely. That's very likely. That's probably how they were eventually found. Yeah, because you never heard about Skeleton Bay back in the day. But yeah, now it's like you can. Obviously, some are still more accessible than others, but the advantages now of being a surfer are tenfold of what it was back in the day, having to just drive.
Back in the day, this is the way we used to. Like I had a collection of these. There was
a surfing podcast.
There was this surfer. Like man, what was it called? I can't remember now, but it was like you could go order it, and I think it was published by a surfer magazine. It was a travel guide, right?
Yes.
And so it was a different like country or location, and then you would open up and it would have all the details of the spots and kind of give you enough information to try to figure it out.
So we would sell those at surf shops.
What was that called? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I can kind of remember the cover. I bought the Costa Rica edition.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know Chip back then, but
I remember like buying these things.
Waterways had a book too. I think Storm Rider's Guide or
Storm Rider's Guide.
Or Natlas or something. You remember the atlases that we used to have before Google Maps?
Yeah.
And you had to buy it every year.
I don't know if Maya was around back then.
We'll have to give you one of these for your library.
I mean, I remember my parents like printing out directions, so not really the atlas, but kind of that in between.
Before that, we actually used a map.
There's this thing called a map.
You like have a book and it would like these different squares and you'd have to look at one and say, okay, what square is that? And you like what page?
Yeah, I don't know what I would do without Google Maps now. So
literally used to like have maps.
The new generation, man, they've got it easy, Chip.
Plug in, something just tells you where to go. No one knows where they're going anymore.
It's amazing.
But yeah, those were cool. Those printed maps, those printed little surf guides back in the day. We'd try to figure out, spots, dream about.
Maybe there's a way, still viable business model there to bring that back and
like,
do it right and do print right.
Well, like another thing, like just as this is kind of a parallel, different but similar, is that there's been a lot of because of privacy policies and the Telephone Consumer Protection Act and getting rid of cookies and a lot of things that's going on in the digital media space because people are, tired of getting bombarded by so much crap, in ads and, whether they may or may not understand that they opted in to get these things. But because there's so much pushback from that and, a lot of the viability of some of these platforms, changes with Facebook because the government, our policies here in the United States when it comes to digital marketing are still pretty loose in comparison to like Europe with the GDPR and what they have in Canada. And so we've seen a resurgence, from our data side of the business is, a lot of people going back to direct mail. And, it's coming back pretty strong. And so it's just
in terms of marketing,
and how to reach your consumer, whether that's a business or a consumer, trying to reach that target audience through direct mail. So, these things, I think they're more cyclical than what we haven't had enough time and history of, digital ads and marketing. I mean, look, we're, in our lifetime, you graduated, you say college in 98. Yeah. I graduated college in 2000. Yeah. So I didn't even have an email account until I went to college.
That's right.
In 1996.
.edu.
I did not have an email. Yeah. And I did not even have a personal computer in my house. I used like a,
now you got like 20.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got one in their hand and 16 different devices. And we're constantly bombarded by all this stuff around all the time. And I think so.
And that's only just a few decades.
Right. I mean, so who knows what's going to happen? Metaverse, everything everybody's talking about. We'll be on there like pretending like we're surfing. This could be the epicenter of Kookville, somewhere in the metaverse. But, there'll be ads being displayed on there at some point. They're already there.
You buy your next foil on the metaverse and hire Chip as your coach. To windsurf.
To fake foil?
And not even need the ocean at this point.
Well, maybe they'll leave the ocean for us, and everyone who wants to learn how to surf can just do it in the metaverse.
Yeah. Or at the McGraw Wave Park.
Right.
One
day.
Less people in the lineup, so.
I'm getting really thirsty here. Do you guys want to have a hot water?
Oh yeah, let's check this out.
I love this product, and we are in no affiliation right now with Hop Water, but I do really love it. You want to try Blood Orange?
Sure. You want the classic?
I'm gonna go classic. All right, and you guys don't forget your McGraw koozie. You want to keep it cold.
Right. I got the
mango. With this Hop Water, if you're looking for a non-alcoholic beverage, it's pretty refreshing. Also has some nootropics in it, so supposedly helps you kind of relax a little bit. I'm not 100% sold on that, but I will tell you when I drink it, I do feel good. Certainly beats having a beer. I'm not against beer, but
it says no. You can hide from the hangover.
The discussion would go down quick if these reveals, especially on my end. I'm a very cheap date.
In some places in the world, it's a little bit more acceptable to drink.
That's really good. Cheers.
Yeah, it does taste pretty good. Cheers.
Thank you guys for the beverage. What were we talking about?
I really forgot.
The metaverse and surfing.
Yeah, like too relaxed now.
Well, no, we had a great little fun little surf session this morning. That was good. Thanks for coming up and joining me.
I was gonna ask if you guys did that.
It was totally blown out. We christened his real surf experience from a Florida perspective. As a Florida surfer. We do get a lot of people don't think we get waves at all, but we do get waves. But when the vast majority of the time it's onshore wind and chunky and it looks like total garbage. But we had fun. We got a few waves.
Great waves. I probably saw about 600 waves this morning, and I only got 4, so I missed 96 of them. But
the difference with Pacific surf or in other places we had long period swell.
There's a channel. There's an organized wave.
Here it's just all over the place, and you're just you get a lot of opportunities to catch waves. Howbeit most of them not very.
The best workout I've had in a few weeks. So thank you for that. And surfing really is it's different things to different people, but for me, especially at my age now, it's like it's really more about that experience and that community. So it's like, okay, I don't care if the waves are crappy. I'm with people I like. And I enjoy being around. I'm down to go surf, waves that aren't that great. And I almost rather do that than go surf an epic, crowded Point Break with a bunch of guys that are aggro that I don't know. I had way more fun this morning with you out there. So thanks for showing me around town.
I was going to ask, how did you guys meet each other?
I think I was prospecting Chip a couple years ago. I'm like, oh, this guy, Chip McGraw with International Surf Pro, he's got to have a lot of money. I'm going to reach out to this guy, ask him to meet me at Starbucks for coffee in San Clemente. Yeah. He just happened to be in town with some of the family, and I think you were there, surf lowers, and I don't know if it was a work trip, but you had some family with you, and then we had a couple mutual friends that you were working with at the time. Yeah. And then I knew he was out here, and I didn't know that many people in Florida back then, just basically him and my realtor, CJ Hobgood, and so who Kip knows as well. And I came out, I think it was during COVID, we were trying to get over to Spain because my wife had a surf house out there called Oasis, and we were stuck here, and CJ had convinced us to move to Florida at this point. And so we were looking at houses. This is a little bit before everything spiked, so it was kind of perfect timing. And then you took us to lunch and kind of showed us around. And we're like, St. Augustine's beautiful, and we're just a little bit south, and we signed for the house, and it took about a year and a half to build, and then we've been out here for about a year now. So, but nice. I think originally I was reaching out to him to work anyone kind of in the surf world or peripherally, even like a lifestyle brand. If there's any type of surf marketing, most of those people I know are my clients, and so and then we just kind of ended up hitting it off personally. He's got a great family. You've met all my kids, and so
pretty little girls.
Yeah,
cuties.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I feel like the surf industry, especially with like digital marketing and things like that, can be kind of hard to get into. So, what is your advice to someone that is kind of wanting to get into this surf, action sports, outdoors space?
Yeah.
That's a really great question. I get that a lot. Yeah. So I had an interview on surfcareers.com a while back when I was starting my agency, which is Action Sports Lifestyle Group. But it's really just me, being a brand consultant for a lot of different entities. I was thinking about why that is, and it's just because the industry is really small, especially compared to like a big mainstream industry like, finance or something like that. And the people that do it love it, right? And they're actually participants in either surf, skate, or snow versus, if you work in
and they'll probably get involved and do the work for a lot less than
you
would do in another industry. Like, all right, I get an opportunity to work for this surf brand. I'm like stoked.
When it's your passion too.
Get paid.
You're not doing it to get rich for the most part. Most people that work in it, do it because they love it. It's more of a labor of love, and and people don't leave because they love it, right? So the turnover in the industry isn't as high as some of these other industries, and that's why it's hard to get a job because you got dude, I've been the publisher at 50. Surfer Magazine for 50 years. I don't want to leave, I love my job. And so I think that's why it's hard to get in there. But now, especially with a lot of things that you guys are doing and all the tools out there with social media, it is easier to be more entrepreneurial than it was, 10, 20, 30 years ago, right? And it's way easier to do marketing. And there's more brands out there than ever before. And so I think that's created a bit of space. And my advice, especially, I get that question a lot from like a lot of college kids who surf or skate or snowboard and really want to get in the industry is like, hey, go and intern at a brand. When I got into it, everyone came through the magazines. That was your point of entry. So you started Transworld, surfing, or surfer. And that was kind of how you got in. And if you talk to a lot of the guys my age in the industry, we all overlapped. Everyone did some time at the mags at one point in time. So we all have the same kind of alma mater where we're all alumnus from, one of these publications. But I tell the kids, get out there and do a free internship. Just get in the door or reach out to the marketing people there and take them to coffee and just set them up, ask if they'll mentor you, set up quarterly meetings with them, and then just do what it takes and find a brand that you like and put in the time. And eventually, over time, you're gonna build your Rolodex. You're gonna meet these contacts. Go to all the surf events. Go to the lifestyle events, the consumer events, and you'll see the same brands there, right? You'll see the same people there. And you go to Surf Expo a couple times. you're going to eventually know everyone because you're going to see the same people, right? You're going to be, hey, there's that guy, Chip McGraw again. That guy's awesome. And so, Chip, hey, can I take you to coffee at the Kookaburra? And I would love to learn how you ask him that same question, right? You're asking me, how did you get into that? What advice do you have for me? And you surround yourself enough times with people like that and opportunities like that, and you eventually get in. So
yeah, it's pretty tough. I mean, and like I'd say too, like there's a lot of other ways to be an entrepreneur. Like how I got started is, I mean, I everything was about surfing for me too. It's like, how can I surf more? How can I get to a place? I had to get out of Florida because, as you can see, the surf this morning is. I mean, look, you have fun, right? But like. After a while, you're like, man, I really would like to get more than one turn on a wave.
Yes.
Or like I really like to stop paddling like nonstop for 2 hours. So.
This is why you're so ripped, though.
No, you get. I mean, yeah, it's a great workout, as you said, but it lacks in quality. Okay, so for me, it was like, how could I? I would have loved to get a job with a brand that's in the surf industry right out of school, but obviously knowing that it's very hard. You have to be super connected. It's normally like the people that are already like, guys that were really good, probably surfers or skaters or whatever. They were pros. Very talented. They were pro. They were sponsored, and then they're kind of the natural progression is like if they want to continue in that in the industry, to get get a sales rep or get with a mag or whoever, depending on what they could offer, right? And their background. For me, it was like, okay, well, I went to Costa Rica and started a real estate company. I actually went and started selling real estate first, and that developed into a real estate company. And the beauty of that was I got to share, my surfing with all the people that came down, because reality was a lot of the people that were coming there wanted to buy, they were surfers. That's why they were coming there. Yep. Or they wanted to become a surfer,
Right.
And so it was a lot of fun taking people around. And instead of like, hey, let's go to the golf course and play around the golf, let's go catch a few waves and let me show you cool spots and let's go check out some lots or a few houses. And it was a great way to earn a really great living and still be very connected to surfing. So
you're like the OG realtor.
I was one. I was like, one of the. I mean, when I started down there in Costa Rica, there wasn't much going on. I will say that there were some guys that were ahead of me, but they were OG, like super OG.
Yeah.
Like they might have like been the first people to do anything there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to stay connected to the things you love and not necessarily be directly working in it, right? So, I mean, and it's also about, maybe like having jobs and opportunities that give you a chance to, have the freedom to, do the things you also love. And also, I've always had a great opportunity, whether in any of the different businesses things I've been involved in, is finding other people that like the same things that I do within those industries, right? And so you connect with those people. A lot of business people, their go-to is golf, or tennis. Most golf probably more than anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of surfers golf too, because it's an independent sport. And when you get into doing like independent type sports, I mean, it's it's a challenge to learn something new, right? And you're competing against yourself more than anything. But there is so much camaraderie, I think, in the surf industry. And if you are truly a surfer, and that's how you identify as like it's a tribe, right?
Yeah. It's
like a family.
Absolutely.
And so if you run across anywhere and you come across a surfer, I mean, it can be anywhere, and someone else that surfs and is passionate about surfing, you're automatically going to like connect with them, right? So,
Mark, you have a podcast of your own.
Yes.
Called Christian Surfers Talk Story Podcast, right?
It's just Christian Surfers Podcast now because we realized there were like 50 other Talk Story podcasts out there.
I think maybe I think I had emailed you and I was listening to the wrong one. So
no, it's all good. There's a lot of great sort of podcasts out there now. There's probably new ones every week. I've been blessed to be the host of that one. There's another young girl named AJ Ellington. She is the daughter of Pastor Rich Ellington, missionary kid out of France. They planted a surf church, Hossegor, and they split time between like J-Bay, France, and her dad is English and her mom's Swedish, and so Swiss. Sorry. Yeah. European geography, like your Canadian geography. But yeah, she's a great kid and she's just really well spoken, intelligent beyond her years. So she's now a co-host of that podcast. And we're going to sign on, hopefully, a guy named Chamba out of El Salvador who used to be a news anchor. So, and his son owns one of the partners in Puro Surf in El Salvador, which is like the premier surf resort destination in El Salvador. It's where all like the pros and celebrities stay. So so we're gonna go down there in a few weeks for our Christian Surfers Conference and film the next round of podcasts down there. As we were talking about earlier, like Zoom is great. It's convenient. People are busy. You can just lock them in. But anytime you can do it in person like this, it's much better.
Right. It is so much better. So what's the podcast about? Like, what are some of the episodes that you've done?
It's really about the intersection of faith and the surfing world. So we've recently, our most recent one, we had Mandy Fry, who's the president CEO of Z Supply, but she was basically the top female product designer at Billabong, Amuse Society. She co-founded that with Paul Nade. She worked at OP, a bunch of like the legacy surf brands, and then we had Reef Hazelwood before that, who's a QS warrior out of Australia. He came up through, he almost qualified a few years ago. He came up through Christian Surfers, and I think in Coolum or Sunny Coast. And then we've had a lot of our missionaries that are on staff or part-time staff from all over the world, a couple of different pastors. So it's been a great, it's a very diverse group. It's in 38 official countries, and it's in more places as well that they're not allowed to use the name Christian Surfers. And it's everyone from like pro athletes to shapers to church planners and pastors. So it's a great organization to be a part of. I used to be one of the chapter co-directors in LA. That was kind of how I got my entry point. Went to go see a Bethany Hamilton film. It was produced by my friend Brian Jennings. He had a nonprofit called Walking on Water, which was kind of our sister organization. And she was young at the time, so the shark attack must have just literally happened maybe the year before that. And then Christian Surfers used to host a lot of those like video premieres. You'd see that for like a Noah's Ark, where different, Beyond Sight, a lot of these different films. And so got involved, and then eventually I was moving to Australia in 2012, and some of my friends, actually, one of the guys, Dean Plumley, was the national director. He lives in St. Augustine. He put me on the board with the international board, suggested me for that, and so kind of went through that interview process and was nominated for that, and been able to serve on the international board since then. So it's such a great organization. It's just really community at the end of the day, and just the purpose of the goal is just that every surfer would have the opportunity to know and follow Jesus. So just loving on the tribe, inviting people to be part of the community, obviously sharing surfing, breaking bread, and sharing the love of Christ and what he's done for us as a savior. So it's been a great, and the podcasts have been, obviously we have an agency that we hired called Dunham Company out of Australia. They have an office in Texas as well, and maybe similar to what you guys do with digital marketing, but they've been helping us with our email marketing. And thankfully we've been given a grant to work with them, which helped out a lot. And they've helped us with a lot, get us through the podcast world and do it a little bit more professionally, which I think that you guys probably do for a lot of your clients. So it's been awesome to just have those conversations. It's just like this, just having people on that you love and just talking about life.
Yeah, the podcast seems like a good way to, bring in your passion for surfing and your faith.
Yes.
And like you guys were kind of talking about, there's other ways to be involved in the surf industry without being directly involved. You said you went to Costa Rica and you were doing the real estate there, but you were still surfing, and all the people that you were connecting with were surfers. So definitely that big community aspect is important.
100%.
And there's a lot of crossover, just like anything else. If you're passionate about something, you can figure out how to incorporate it in your life. But
yeah.
I think Chip was smart enough, and the rest of us too. I'm going to continue surfing, but I'm going to do something that's a lot more profitable than work in the surf industry. So,
yeah.
But
I mean, I have, I was pretty young when I had kids. I had to, feed children and take care of a family. So,
that's true.
I had to focus on that.
Yeah.
But
and we have the ocean wave and the McGraw logo. So
Yes,
I think that there's a
great
lot
logo.
of similarities between business and surfing.
Yeah.
So when you're surfing, you're constantly being pushed by the waves, getting knocked off your board. There's injuries, you're fighting for the next wave. Kind of in business, there's competition. You're dealing with hard clients. There's all those struggles that come financially. So how, like, are there differences or similarities between surfing and business that you've experienced, or are there lessons that you can take from surfing that you've applied
100%.
to business?
I feel like surfing's so like, it's just this great spiritual analogy for life, which obviously includes business, right? And family and kind of, whatever it is that you're dealing with. And so, and that's why I love it, right? I feel like it is a gift from God. And we have this thing called the Surfer's Bible in Christian Surfers. So I got to get you guys a copy. But we're updating it now, and they just publish it in like Portuguese and in French as well, which is awesome. So, but like print publishing, we're talking about, it is expensive to produce and print and ship. So, we had to raise a lot of, Christian surfers had to raise a lot of money to have that project up, to get that done. But, and I think Chip might have mentioned it earlier too, in terms of, just life is like cyclical, and there's certain waves that come in life. And obviously there's peaks and lows and valleys and seasons. And so, just like in any business, right, with growth and success. And so 100% with surfing, I think we're out there, Chip had me on the treadmill for about an hour and a half. And again, I saw a large number of waves, but I was really only able to capitalize on 2 or 3. And I think those are some of the wins that maybe you see in life. Obviously, having a company like McGraw and what you guys do, you help, I think, the potential and some of these other brands and your clients kind of maximize that potential and that opportunity. But for the most part in life, with your wins and your losses, you get a lot more losses than you do wins, especially in pro surfing, right? It's not how you handle the wins, it's how you handle the losses. And I think life's a lot like that too. And your spiritual walk can be like that in this world, because it's a broken world, and there's a lot of things out there that can, come against you, your family and your business. And so the analogies are like endless. And so if you guys subscribe to the Christian Surfers email newsletter, which all the chapters do nationally and globally, but, and hopefully eventually we'll be able to hire you guys on board to help us with that. But there's so many great stories that are told within that, like the Monday morning devotionals and all that, and that can apply to your business and your personal walk as well. But that's a fantastic question. And I don't think that's by accident. I think that was all intelligently designed with a purpose. And so, and I always tell people this, I don't know if you guys know, but the average wave height around the world is the height of human size. It's not gigantic. It's not tiny. There are those big waves. There are those small waves, but it was almost like God designed surfing for humans to enjoy. So head high D, perfect for me now, especially at my health and age. I don't want the big stuff anymore.
Well, it's certainly, in going to business, I think it's about surfing, business, anything you set out to do successfully in your life. I mean, it's about persistence, so, like we're pounding out today, there was like relentless amount of waves coming in. So you had to be super persistent. And although, at some point you're like, man, I don't know if I can continue to paddle out to get to that wave because I'm just so tired of getting beat up, but you just had to keep going.
Yeah, having the courage to get back up on the board.
Going. Yeah. The persistence of getting out there, and then the reward is getting that one wave, that 1-2 turn combo.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I got that one.
Yeah.
So it's just like anything in life, business, your faith, everything.
Family.
Just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going, so.
It helped that you were out there, because Chip was the first one out, and I could see that he made it out, where if I was by myself, and I did tell him this morning, like I'd have no reference point, right? You just out at Victory at Sea, you have no idea where you're at. You have no idea if you're like an hour north or south or drifted from where you paddled out. And so, but having at least, not necessarily like an accountability partner out there, but a friend out there, or someone to do business with, or someone to do life with, it really helps ground you. And so it gave me that reference point of like, he's already out. That's where I need to be. I'm not as far back as I think. I just go there. And those little things like that help you win in life and help, I think, win in business.
I love that analogy. There's so many analogies you can make between surfing and business.
I should write a book on this.
And there probably is one.
You got a podcast here. Yeah, there you go. This is the birth.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, at McGraw, we're a HubSpot Gold Solutions partner. And so,
nice.
With the analogy between surfing and business, helping our clients ride the wave of success is important. So.
Yeah, with HubSpot, the whole goal there is, we just are a team here to strategize and help our clients, be better at scaling up their business, being more efficient. Just like I'm sitting there helping my kids surf or helping other people surf or myself. It's about what can we do to make the process better. So that's what we do with HubSpot. We just try to make the process better. We try to make it more efficient. We try to give people the opportunity to scale their business. And, whether we're doing that along with helping them with their data, getting more refined campaigns, better, making more specific their audience, going after that target audience in a better way and putting, the right information in front of their audience, whether that's from direct mail, whether that comes from digital ads, however we're getting their email, through a podcast, through a newsletter, all these different things, omni-channel, basically trying to help brands and companies grow.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be more efficient?
Right.
And
because we can surf more.
Exactly. If we are more efficient,
right?
Or have more family time or whatever that is.
Whatever it is that you want to have in your life, right? So,
that's awesome.
So definitely can ride the wave of success with McGraw. But
that's right.
Bring that analogy back in.
There's a higher win rate and success chance.
That's what we're striving for sure. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, man. Really appreciate the surf time.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. Beautiful office, and what a great team that you guys have on board, and keep up the great work with all the clients. And hopefully one day we could be one of them.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.